All right, well, good evening. I'd like to call to order the May 16th, 2022 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission. And the meeting will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next up, we have roll call for tonight. I'd like to start with calling Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Chair Miller.
Here.
Great. And first item on the agenda, let me back up. I apologize. Councilmember Zabel is here. And Staff Liaison Shannon. Right. Thank you. First item on the agenda is minutes approval from the April 18th, 2022 meeting of the EMC. Are there any changes that need to be made to the meeting minutes? Hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the April 18th, 2022 meeting minutes of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the April 18th, 2022 meeting minutes of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. All right, next item is new business. And I think for this item we have Shannon Reidlinger. So I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. So at our last EMC meeting, I had made mention of the fact that we will be relaunching our Bike and Pedestrian Plan update. And I wanted to make sure to provide the Commission with a little bit of context about that today, because the EMC is going to be a pretty integral piece of providing feedback on the plan as it moves forward. So to summarize where we've been with the Bike and Ped Plan update, the project was first launched in 2019. There were a few different things that were completed. You can see an outline of those things in the memo in front of you, but at a very high level, the project work that had happened in 2019 included reviewing the current system for the Bike and Ped system in the region as well as in Oakdale. There was a work plan that was created. There were quite a few maps that were drawn up and illustrated. And there was a public engagement survey that went out that started to collect feedback from individuals in Oakdale about the current bike facilities, any desires for future facilities, just getting a sense for what the bike and pedestrian habits are of residents currently. The project itself was put on hold at the onset of the pandemic, like so many different things. And while there were a few efforts to pick it up over the past year, I think that there was a common consensus that the hope was that we would be able to convene people again in person, really in order to relaunch the plan. And that hadn't been the case up until now, but it is a little bit more of a possibility in this moment. So we are planning on restarting this project. There has been some intention behind understanding what has already happened, what we can maybe glean from the results that we already had gathered prior to now, so that we're not restarting everything over from scratch. So we're not exactly going back to the drawing board, but the Oakdale staff and Tool Design Group, who are our consultants for this project, have come together to sort of revise the scope of work as it had been previously to make it relevant to where we are today. And moving forward, really the goal is to have that piece of public engagement, making sure that there are a lot of different audiences represented in focus groups. We'll have the chance to get feedback from our city council on wherever this plan goes in the future. And then we'll be planning on tapping into our current advisory bodies. So that includes the Planning Commission, the Parks and Rec Commission, potentially the Economic Development Commission, and then you all to get feedback on this plan as it moves forward. I think that it's especially important for the EMC because this update project is included in the EMC's 2022 work plan. So bike and pedestrian issues and concerns are of importance to the EMC, and I think that it's appropriate for this particular advisory body to provide feedback then on that. So in the future, it is a very high possibility that the commission will be host to a consultant from Tool Design, somebody who can come in and give an update on the progress, talk through what some of the proposed feedback or recommendations that might be in this new plan as it moves forward, and then just give the EMC a chance to provide comments on what's being formulated thus far. So, like I said, you will probably be tapped in the future to provide comment in particular, but if there's any questions that you have about this process up until now, then please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. Or if you have any comments in general, I'm happy to field them as well.
Thank you, Shannon. I know this was, just in terms of bike and ped access, was a big point in the commission conference, which we'll update the city about shortly here. So thank you for the background and the energy 2.0.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions about bike and ped plan project updates? All right. Thank you. Well, hearing none, we can move to the environmental management, the commission conference. I would invite Shannon if you want to kick it off, and then we're prepared to add some color commentary.
Yeah, so I'm excited because my part now is going to be very short before I hand it over to you guys again. So I think at our last meeting, Commissioner Girding, you had brought up the fact that there would be an in-person 2022 conference of the various environment commissions. I assume that there were probably a number of different commission members from peer cities that were represented at this conference, and I was really excited to hear that there were going to be a couple of representatives from our own commission there because I think that it sounds like a really good way to network and to learn from other individuals about what they're doing on their own environmental commissions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, generally, excuse me, it was a really good space, I think, to meet others, present what we've been up to, and hear how other commissions are working towards what really seemed to be quite a bit of shared goals across county and city, which was validating to hear. So briefly, we shared our process to maintain Green Step Cities Level 5, our language recommendations surrounding EV capability and readiness for Oakdale, the updates from the county recycling grant, both from last year and then what we're planning for this year. Grow Solar Twin Cities was a big topic, and then general updates in our city that we are aware of and helping inform other commissions and entities. So as you can see from the agenda and the recap, we wanted to talk high level about a few takeaways. So at this point, I'd like to invite Commissioner Wilson to kick us off for a few things.
During one of the breakout sessions, we were asked to talk about our climate action plans, and I volunteered or offered that we are a level 5 Green Step city, but I wasn't sure we had a climate action plan. So today I looked it up, and in fact, we have a climate action plan. It's pretty extensive. It's dated 2017. It's called Population Vulnerability Assessment and Climate Adaptation Framework. And it's 100 pages long. It's on the Oakdale website. You can get a PDF, but it has a lot of elements that I was totally unaware of. So I would invite all of the commissioners, except Commissioner Miller probably knows about this, right?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of it?
Probably in my file somewhere.
Yeah. It was very impressive. It has a lot of detail, a lot of suggestions, but it is 2017, so I'm asking myself, are we looking at it again to make it a little more relevant? What shall we do with that information? But I was happy to see that apparently we have one. And then the other issue that came up in our breakout session is student involvement. Apparently, a lot of cities do have student representatives on their commissions, and one city even has 4 student representatives on their commission. Only one city, I think it's Minnetonka, has voting members of the student body on their commission. The rest are all advisory. They usually are seniors, and often they're in the STEM program at their local high school. But it seemed like it was very successful in the commissions that do it, so it might be something to take a second look at. I think this commission looked at it one time and did some recruiting, and it didn't work out 100%, but it's possible we should take another look at that.
Thank you. Actually, I want to ask about the climate action plan. Thank you, Bonnie, for dusting that off, Commissioner, and letting us know that that indeed exists. Is there a plan to revisit those things over time? And is there work that the EMC can do with that, or?
To your first question, I do not know. I won't lie to you, I didn't even know that we had a climate action plan. So that's really
Neither did
good
I.
news for me to know as well. I can ask the question about whether or not it would be relevant to look at updating it, or at the very least to understand it a little bit better and how it actually functions from an administrative standpoint.
Yeah, because there are suggestions at the end for next steps and all that kind of thing. So at the very least, we should probably take a look and see. It was some of it, well, Commissioner Miller would know, but some of it was probably folded into the Green Step program, I would believe.
Yes, we did take elements of Green Step into consideration. Also, it has been 5 years now, and I think it could use some dusting off and looking at an update.
Great. And then I'll also add, at the conference, there was a lot of discussion surrounding, as Commissioner Wilson said, the idea of young leaders or high school or student voices in the commission space. But there was also other commissions that received AmeriCorps funding to add Green Corps members to the staff team. The creativity and constraints within budgets is real for cities, and so we heard that some cities share the Green Corps member with state agencies, or even share a Green Corps member with other commissions in other cities that cross county and city lines. So that was interesting to see how that can actually grow capacity and still get some stuff accomplished that otherwise might not be accomplished, essentially. And the other thing we really learned and how they presented was how best to begin and create communications campaigns to educate and inform residents and business and property owners, just as a general idea. So one idea that came up as we and other cities were talking about new construction and investments is the concept of sustainable building policies. Sustainable building policies, there seems to be a universal set of building standards adhered to varying degrees across cities and or states or municipalities. But it's something that could be coming on the residential or even business front from those sustainable building policies would be some kind of disclosure report, is what they called it, or like an energy disclosure report. Much like you may go and buy an appliance, and as there's an Energy Star rating, they equated it to that kind of visual litmus test of so prospective buyers or business owners could see how well their property was performing to other homes or other businesses or other commercial spaces within the market. So I didn't know. One question I had is whether the city has any form of sustainable building policy, and if so, if it's used in either conversations with planning or with other property owners?
That's a really good question. I will look that up for you, but I know that we do have, there's a folder that Jen specifically curated, my predecessor, that has to do with green building policy. I don't know how readily it's advertised. And I think that because we now have a new building inspector official, that, you know, that would be a good conversation to have with him.
Great. Yeah, it might be something we dig deeper into later at a future meeting, but it's worth exploring. Another idea that was stressed by many regarding EV readiness and EV capacity for cities was to make sure that multifamily housing owners and property owners of that segment were really regarded as true partners in the work. I know we've talked in this commission a lot about engaging multifamily property owners in the work of the city. So for us, it was just a really good reminder of we're on the right track, and other cities are having the same kind of exploratory conversations to really see how critical, you know, marketing to that segment is and engaging with them can be. And much like a Tree City or Green Step certification, I believe we learned of something like there being a certification for cities being EV ready, if I recall correctly. So once, of course, those work plans are implemented down the road. So just wanted to ask an inquiry question. Is that something that the city is aware of in terms of marketing its EV readiness to the world?
I don't know about a certification. I know that there was conversation when I was part of a EV ready cohort. So individuals who are in my similar position in other cities were part of a cohort to talk about EV readiness. And that was one of the discussions was, would there be an appetite for some sort of a certification around EV readiness? I'm not sure if that ever materialized to the point where we could be considered an EV ready community. But given the fact that we have our EV Ready Community study that was completed last year, that we are now currently in the process of completing some of the action steps, I think that there would be an appetite to have that conversation about whether or not the work that we're already doing, that we've already sanctioned, could dovetail nicely into some sort of a certification if it exists.
Yeah, cool, thank you. Yeah, that's great. There was so much at the conference. Additionally, there seemed to be a desire for like cross-city and or cross-county collaboration, and that the Resilient Community Coalition is coordinating local clusters. They're calling them clusters, comprised of commissioners across cities and counties. I think they're calling it like city-county climate action conversations or something. Just a general plug, there's one for Washington County on May 31st from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And I think if we're all part of the listserv, I think Sean Gazowski
Yeah.
sent something the other week to all of us in that, so just as an FYI. And then lastly, I think we heard a lot of interest from other attendees surrounding showcasing, as we just talked about, certifications. I apologize, Commissioner Wilson, did you have an idea here for this one? The Green Step Level 5?
You mean how to promote it? Or, well, they do have signs. Apparently, they gave us one free sign that we could erect, and I'm not exactly sure where it is. And the additional signs are $88. So if we wanted to promote it via signs, we could do some of that. But I don't know if we've written about it in the Oakdale update or not. I mean, it's a really big deal that we're a Step 5 city, and the group that I was in was very impressed and said, you know, that's a great program. But I don't know if very many of our citizens are aware of what that is. So it certainly could do with some more promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that we have a communications manager, we can do that. We will absolutely do that. Yeah, I will check and see whether or not we've received our one free sign, because I also got that email about the fact that we do receive something.
Yeah.
So if it's here, I will find it.
Okay.
But if not, then I will ask for one.
Okay.
Commissioner Wilson, did you have anything else that you wanted to
Well,
share about the
the
conference?
second presentation was by Clean Energy Resource Teams, the CERTS group that I think you've worked with before. And they really helped clarify what their different programs were, like Drive Electric Minnesota. And the EV Ready certification program is brand new with them. So it might be something that they have a new aspect on their website or something. And then MnDOT has an EV dashboard online where you can see where all the different EV charging stations are and what their level is. And, you know, if you were owning an EV vehicle, you'd probably be really grateful for that. And then there's a site selection tool online that they offer. So I think, and then they're going to offer a bulk buy of EV chargers. So I think that particular group, CERTS, is one that plays really well into what we're doing.
Great. And again, in recap, that the conference was well attended. It was packed with information and ideas, and I do want to acknowledge that I think we walked away feeling as though we're one of the more coordinated and aligned cities in this work related to our work plan, the comp plan, and the bigger goals that we're all trying to see. So clearly that's a testament to Shannon and Andy's work when we're collectively, and what we've kind of collectively been able to accomplish. So does anybody have any questions about the commission conference or other?
I just say that I'm happy that both of you could attend. I'm sorry that I couldn't this year, but yeah, it's always a valuable conference, and sound like there were a lot of good things that you mentioned discussed there. And one comment regarding the sustainable building policy. The city of Oakdale did look at this, and we do offer an incentive for people who go beyond the building codes, and that by not requiring they pay a permit fee. So it's a small incentive, and had talked about in the past of increasing more incentives, because right now the cities in Minnesota have to comply with the state building code and cannot have stricter requirements. And the only way they can have more stringent requirements of a builder is if they're offering an incentive. And then to get that incentive, they can have as part of an agreement to require more stringent energy efficiency, et cetera, in their building. So we're kind of, this has been debated and brought to the state to, have a more stringent building code, and that has been on their agenda, but nothing has passed the legislature there. So I think we're somewhat limited unless we're going to start offering incentives for builders. So I'd just like to bring that up. And yeah, I'm really happy that I think that, it's always good to be sharing best practices, both from standpoint, we always pick something up at a conference like that, and also to share our best practices as well.
Thank you, Chair Miller. All right. Well, next item is our monthly review of the Environmental Management Commission's editorial calendar for 2022. How are we in the middle of May already? Can't. Wow. So we've got May, June, and July. Does anybody have comments or questions about the next quarter's snapshot of focus areas? Or Shannon, if you'd like to run through this with us. you're welcome to.
Sure. Well, I can, at the very least, tell you that this calendar has been so helpful for me because I have been able to put together an email for our communications manager, Lori, just at the beginning of the month saying, here's the theme, here's what we'd like to touch on, here are the relevant days, here are all the resources. Go. So I appreciate the fact that the EMC has this and comments on it every single month. The other thing that I did want to say, last meeting, there was a request to provide a few data points. So on the second page of this memo, I did indicate any social media posts in April and the beginning of May that kind of coincided with our environmental themes and when those posts were made. I started to pull out some data points as far as engagement from Hootsuite. And it got very convoluted. It just turned into a massive table that I began and then very quickly scrapped. So my question for the commission would be, if you are interested in understanding engagement, what specifically might you be looking for? And is there like a platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that you care more about seeing in these recaps?
Well, when you say social media posts, are you mainly including Facebook or?
Facebook is the one that gives the most data, and that data comes in the form of information about the number of people that comment on a post, that engage with a post. They have a number called reach that essentially tracks, as far as I'm aware, the number of people who might have seen a post cross their page. Whether or not they actually saw it is another question, but at the very least it showed up on their homepage at one point in time. So that information is made available by Facebook. With Instagram and Twitter, you get far less information. So that's more just a repeat of, for Instagram, say, however many people liked or hearted the post itself. For Twitter, it's however many retweets that you get. So it's a little bit more limited from those two platforms. Facebook has more information, but it's, that might be very interesting for data wonks and potentially a little bit less interesting if you don't really care.
Well, I just was looking for a clarification of social media
Sure.
posts because that can cover a lot of ground. And it seems to me that Oakdale has news blasts. So does some of this get out on those? I mean, I'm subscribed to several news parts of the Oakdale website, but I don't remember getting any news about these particular events. So I'm just wondering, is that another avenue that we could be using?
I'll have to check with Lori.
It's tough to track. I will invite, though. I think there's 3 areas that I'm mainly thinking of Facebook and probably LinkedIn, depending on how active we are as a city on it, just in terms of, because you can go behind the analytics easier on LinkedIn. If you are the one that is publishing the post, you can see more things. But for the purposes of this conversation, we can center it on Facebook. So I think for me, there's 3 things that I look for. One is direct engagements, like just the number of reactions, I think they call it now. And then I do like your data point of reach, just overall reach, like how visible is this post. And then another metric, I think, if we want to overlay some sort of recruitment for this commission and others, is the number of shares. Shares is big, and it's kind of a sub-segment of social. So if there's an easy way to maybe start with 1 or 2 of those and then see how that feels to us and revisit this, it could be.
Sure.
Because I agree that it's a lot to digest and you can go down the rabbit hole super quickly.
Yeah, I'll touch base with Lori and see kind of what she's both interested in and capable of tracking long-term, and then just let her know that from the commission standpoint, it seems like the interest is in understanding what types of posts and what type of content is engaged with more, so that we're tailoring this editorial calendar in the future towards messages that resonate with our community.
Yep. Yep. Agree. And I will comment too about the conference. We shared that we have an editorial calendar, and
Oh, yeah, you did.
they were blown away. Other participants and attendees were blown away that that this commission works in consort and alongside staff to amplify and elevate. So kudos.
Cool.
Anything else on the editorial calendar?
I just like to say that I think it's valuable that showing us the social media posts of the last month, and so April and May, that's great. If that could be done monthly, an update on that would be beneficial, just to know what's being posted out there.
Great. Thank you. Next item is the draft EV-ready ordinance and guidelines update.
Yes, so this did not have any attached content because you guys have seen this month after month since I think January. So I just wanted to provide the update that the ordinance amendments as approved by the Planning Commission and supported by the Environmental Management Commission went in front of our City Council at the May 10th meeting as part of the consents motion, and I believe that was passed. So we were able to pass those few ordinance amendments, and then also we have our EV charging infrastructure guidelines document that will be going on the website. So I am going to be working, because this is a learning process for me as well, to understand exactly how we go about making sure that the ordinances are amended as proposed. But I wanted to give that update because this is something that our commission has been working on for a few months now. It is a direct result of the EV Ready Community Study that the commission reviewed last year, and it's kind of a tangible step forward in a way that really aligns with the commission's 2022 work plan, and I'm just really excited about it. So, way to go, guys.
Go team.
Go team.
Way to go. That's wonderful news. Anybody have any comments on? Hey, we can't top that news, so.
Well, we will in the future.
Okay. Moving on to council liaison updates or council updates.
No, but I think Commissioner.
Did I skip commissioner updates?
You did.
Whoopsies. Moving on to commissioner updates. My apologies.
I have an update on Grow Solar Twin Cities program that we are supporting. The selection of a contractor, a developer for the program is going to be decided tomorrow. So as soon as that's decided, we'll be moving forward with the program, and there are going to be solar power hours, workshops, as in the past. And as part of our support, we're hosting, Environmental Management Commission will be hosting a workshop, and I've signed us up for May 31st at 6:30, and it'll be online. And we'll be sharing that evening with Ted Redmond from Pale Blue Dot, and he is also on the advisory committee for Solar Twin Cities. So I think that should be a good evening. And Ted is also on the Environmental Management Commission for the city of Maplewood.
Awesome. So 6:30 on the 31st?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Other commissioner updates?
Well, I did my due diligence for the adopt a drain.
Thank you.
And there was nothing in the drains, so my question is, does the Oakdale Maintenance Department or Street Department take care of those drains outside here? Because they're clean as a whistle. I found one stick, and so I'm just wondering, should we adopt different drains? Because I truly have never found much in these drains.
Great question, Commissioner Wilson. And from experience, the street sweepers have been out as of late. So I don't know if that, depending on when you assess the drain condition, they just were out in my neck of the woods twice in the last 3 weeks. So I'm not sure. I think this year is always a transition. This part of the year is always a transition one. Personally, I have found a bunch of things at our drains. It was probably more, I would say, my months during that year were later in the summer, probably after Summerfest, probably after Touch a Truck, probably after sports and tennis and softball and leagues and things. So I think it just depends.
Okay, I'll keep it up.
But one stick is one stick. Mhm. Hearing none. Council liaison update?
Nice to be with you all again. Just a few things. Take care of that. Just a few things to update you on. First and foremost, I want to thank Commissioner Cantola and the tree board and our city forestry staff for putting on a tremendous Arbor Day tree giveaway in the city. It's always a good day when we can add 200 trees to our tree canopy in this city. So it was a little chilly, a little rainy. Other than the weather, everything went great. This was our second year of making it a drive-through event, and our residents really seem to like that format. So I anticipate we'll be keeping that going forward. It is hard to believe we are about a month away from Summerfest. Yeah, that one, it hurts a little bit, but it just means that June is rapidly approaching and summer is going to fly by. But this year it looks a little bit different, let me step back. Last year, things changed due to COVID, and so we were making a few changes anyways. This year, we're looking at a 2-day event, June 24th through the 25th. The Summerfest parade will be on Friday night, which is new this year, instead of Thursday night. But yeah, otherwise, the other things that residents have come to know and love, like the firework display and music in the park, that'll be happening as well. We're even doing a larger fireworks show this year. So the city found some extra money to put towards that. So we're pretty excited. In terms of council happenings, a few things. First is a big one. We'd like to welcome a new police officer to Oakdale, Corey Puddle. He was sworn in at our last council meeting, so we are glad to have him aboard Team Oakdale. As Shannon mentioned, the city council adopted the EV language, and so there's really nothing else to do with that. It's part of the city code. It's all done. So I want to thank the Planning Commission and the EMC for all of your great work on that. I know it was a long process, but the city council feels like we're in a really good spot with that language. So thank you for all of your work on that. And then final update is it's road construction season. And we have a lot of projects going on in Oakdale, including 40th Street east of 694 throughout the Willowbrook development. That's a big one. So the developer is working on realigning 40th Street over there. And then just our annual street reconstruction program that we have going on. So this year we're focusing on 4th Street. It's getting a full rebuild, which is a big project. And the Anna's Grove neighborhood, just south of Target there, they're getting redone as well. We also have a partnership with Washington County and the city of Lake Elmo for Ideal Avenue up by Willowbrook. So Ideal just north of 34th Street. So that'll be getting some new turn lanes and widen to accommodate traffic from Willowbrook. And the county is also working on a stoplight project along 34th Street. And so in coordination with that, the city is partnering with them to complete the trail connection from Hadley to over by LA Fitness. That's always been a segment of our trail network that's been missing. And so we're really excited to partner with them while they're doing all of that work and finally get that connection in place. So there's a lot going on. Our city staff is incredibly busy, but they're doing an awesome job. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. None? All right. Well, if anybody needs anything, you know where to find me.
Thank you, Council.
And I mean right here. Yeah, I'm right here. So.
Okay, you never leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Great. Well, the next regular meeting of Oakdale Environmental Management Commission is Monday, June 20th, 2022 in the council chambers, as a reminder. And if there's nothing else, I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning the May 16th, 2022 meeting of Oakdale Environmental Management Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.